Hi, it's Dreyer and welcome to the Financial Freedom Challenge, where our mission is to help you to create, to grow, to protect and to enjoy your wealth. And today is day 91, so basically it's the end of this series. And I can report back to you and say to you that at least with the Heart Rate Challenge, each and every day I've done what I was supposed to do. And today I'd like to talk to you about something that I think can help you a lot. In fact, I think this can be one of the more valuable lessons that I'm going to share with you today. And this is assets. I'd like to talk about assets. And I'm not going to talk in terms of assets the way that we think of it, your property in your house and, you know, the shares that you've got and the businesses that you've got. I want to talk about the underlying asset that creates all of this. Now, I think that you'll agree with me that the greatest investment that you can ever make, and we all have heard this, is to invest in yourself. And that by far is the best investment that you can make. But unfortunately, people don't know how to make these investments, or at least that's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you can help me with this. But the greatest asset that I've got, I've learned the first time I discovered this, and at that stage I did not pay attention to it and I thought this was normal, but at the age of 8. So I made my first infinite investment at the age of 8. I did not pay any attention to it at that stage, but 2 years later, when I was 10 years of age, I started my first business simply because I knew this investment principle. And this is basically one of the reasons why I say to people, your investment is your business and your business is your investment, and you should treat both as a business as well as an investment. So I started my first real business at the age of 10. I was in a partnership with Willie, and we did extremely well for ourselves in terms of that we needed, right? It wasn't spectacular in terms of millions and billions and stuff like that, but that was more than what I needed. I could even buy myself a bicycle from the proceeds that we've made at that stage. My mother then put me in high school, in a boarding school, to get me out of this environment, and I used exactly the same skill 3 months later to start within this boarding school, my second business. And that skill that I've learned is the Rainmaker skill. So of all the skills, of all the assets that I've got, if I'm looking at the one skill that is more valuable than any other skill, then it has to be the Rainmaker's skill, because you can start a business or investment at will. And this is really in the power morphing. I'm explaining to people how to turn an idea, a thought, into a reality, and that is that explosive growth that is going to happen. And it's more than just explosive growth, it's an infinite growth, and I've discussed infinite growth with you before and what explosive growths are. But there's another skill that I think that I have and that I understand, and that has got, you know, the Rainmaker skill is something that is not really tangible. It is something that you make tangible by starting a business or investment with no money. But then there's a tangible skill set where you can actually measure the stuff. And that asset is your database. Of all the assets, the tangible assets that I've got, I think my database is worth more than anything else. And I can lose anything and everything on this earth. But if I can maintain my database, then I know that I'll start getting back in a very, very short time, because there's no ceiling of complexity. So the next time, there's not going to be a next time, but it's going to be a lot easier, simply because the moment that you combine the Rainmaker skill with the knowledge of how to build a database, it is really, really incredible. So the Rainmaker skill is to start a business, but that business needs data. In other words, it needs people, but it's not just anyone, it's the right people. And the moment that you can do that, you're well away. The great thing about this is that you don't need money in order to do it, especially if you combine the Rainmaker skill to this. So let me give you an example. I think one of my students could not and did not understand this many, many years ago. So on my blog, he wrote something, and I got hold of him and I said to him, I'll mentor him through the process. And I started mentoring him. He built a database. He was profitable within the first week from a negative into a positive. And then he built a database of 477 people, and we launched. He launched a business. I helped him with launching. Actually, was 2 businesses, but he created something like 639,000 rand within a day with a database of 477 people. So I think, and I hope that you can see how valuable this thing is, your database. But there are certain qualifications in terms of a database. It's not just a million names. It's a very specific way that you have to go about in getting that database. Now, one of the things that I'm doing at the moment, as part of the 5 cent challenge that I've got that started last year, so we're now 18 months almost in this thing, and we're sitting with more than 3 million, is how to use Facebook in terms of this marketing process, and where you can get all your clients or your prospects at least for free, right? And it is a way to show people that anyone has got this ability once you understand the basics of creating whatever you want, without costing you money. But more importantly, that you can grow that business or that investment in at will. And this is this is fabulous. Now, I think in 2011, one of my students, actually it's a lot of students, but this specific student, he came to me and he said, Hannes, but the reason why you're successful is because you've got a database. And without that database, you will never be successful. So I challenged him and I said to him, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll start my next investment with no database. So I will not go back to my database. I'm going to tell my database what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go back to them until I've made, I think it was something like 125,000 rand. That was what I said. A month later, I've made more than 125,000 rand. And within the first year, without a client, in other words, I did not go to my database. I started with one single person that I did not know at that stage. And simply by applying this that I'm teaching students in the Wealth Creators Method, I simply took that database, worked on the database, and because of the database, I positioned myself in order to provide services and products, and all brand new, by the way. All of those services were brand new. It's not something that I had before, because that was part of the challenge, that I'll start a business or investment with no database, with no idea, with no... so people literally, just like in this case, this oak started this business without an idea. In fact, the morning when we started, he did not know that he was going to start 2 businesses. Right. So you see, it's all perceptions, and the moment that we've got those perceptions are and will keep us poor for the rest of our lives. So it's the last day of this 91-day period. I'm going to start setting myself up for the 2 cents challenge. Now, the 2 cents challenge is a 5 cents challenge. Now I'm going to use the accelerated principle, and I'm going to turn this into 1 billion% within the first year by investing in cryptocurrencies. So that is the main place where I'm going to invest this, and where my focus will be in order to get to at least 200,000 rand. So maybe I should make it $20,000. I'm not sure, which is a lot more than 200,000 rand. But in any case, right. So what's the first thing that I need to do? Well, I know that I need to start a business, but I don't need a business. More important than the business is the database, because the database, the people on that database will actually tell me what they want, how they want it, and how I can give them that they want, and be willing to pay me to get that they want, if I can add enormous value to them. So my goal is basically to say, okay, I'm going to use the Facebook principle that we've got. I'm going to add a new tool to that, something that I've learned over the last couple of days, maybe a month. And then I'm going to use that tool in order to create a database that will not cost me a cent. And all I need will be 300 people. So if I can get 300 people on this new database, in order that's relating to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins and Ethereums and the blockchain, then that's going to be more than enough to start and to turn this 2 cents into a 1 billion% growth. So the question that I've got, do you think it's possible to build a database of 300 or more within the next month. Today, I believe, is the 18th of the month. So within 30 days. So that basically gives you like 10, maybe that's too few. Let's make it 900. So that gives you like 30 people per day that needs to join this specific database. And then I'm going to use that database in order to show people how easy it is to actually grow and start and grow an investment, any type of investment that you would like to have. So what's your challenge for today? It's very simple. Start a database. In other words, go to people and tell them any idea that you may have. Or if you've got a product or a service already, how can you increase your database? And how can you do that without paying for that in order to grow that database? If you've got that skill, then basically you've got the Rainmaker skill, and then there's literally no end, because as through the Wealth Creators University, what I'm teaching my students there are different techniques at different levels, because I think by now you know that you need the right information in the right order for the level of the game that you're at, and then you simply have to go out and do it. So my challenge to you is build your database and set yourself a specific goal and say, okay, I'm going to have 10 more people that I can at least talk to and that is willing to speak to me within the next 30 days, or 30 people, or like 300 people, or 900 people, or whatever the case may be. And that then is your goal, and we are going to start right now. So if you are prepared to take up that challenge, please let me know in the comment box, and let's see what's going to happen. So in closing, always remember that in order to create financial freedom, we must make sure that each and every day is going to be a perfect day, and that simply means that each and every day we need to know what it is that we want. So I've just set an intent for me and say, okay, I'm going to each and every day start working on it. Even if I'm on holiday, which we're now in the holiday season, I'm not going to work every day. So I need to find a way in order to put this in an automate this whole process. In other words, bring in a system in order to be able to do it. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it, because we're not going to work. Plus, the office is closed. So it does not sound like a great challenge, but it's a great challenge. But the intent is there, and I know exactly what the intent is. And therefore, I know, okay, each and every day, 30 people on board, and I'll have 900 people when I launch this new investment. That simply means that I have to take responsibility. I can't rely on someone else thinking that they're going to do it for me. I have to come up with the whole, let's call it a funnel, a process. It's going to take time and effort on my side. Luckily, I've done similar things before in my life, not similar to exactly what I'm going to do now, but I've built many businesses and databases in the past. I do have the right mindset, that I can promise you, because that is something that I work on a day-to-day basis. I'm willing to take as much action as I need to in order to do that. And I think what's going to happen, because I'm not going to pay really attention, I think the last couple of days this thing is going to start picking up big time, and I'll put in all my efforts from approximately the 10th to the 12th of January in order to make sure that by the 18th of January I'll have that 900. And maybe I should give you feedback on that as well. So in order to become successful, I know that the only way that I'm going to do it is to consistently doing that needs to be done, because there's simply not any other way. Because I also know that each and every action that I'm going to take, I've got a choice. I can say, okay, I'm going to take a break, which I'm, by the way, going to do. But Tanya likes to wake up late in the morning. She likes to sleep in, and I like to stand up early in the morning. So even if we're in the bush or wherever we may be, I can, and I do have at least 3 to 4 hours that I can work on a plan or a strategy or an implementation of this strategy, because I follow the Wealth Creator strategy, so that I can line everything up so that when I'm ready, it's, maybe I can get even 900 people on a single day, that type of thing. So because every single step that you're going to take is going to take you one step to or one step away from achieving your goal. And that does not mean that you're going to see the results each and every day. As long as at the end of the day you can say, okay, this is what I've done in order to make this happen, that's perfect. That's a perfect day. But it's not to say that you have to every single day I must get 30 people, otherwise I don't get to my goal. Because in the beginning, when you work on something like this, you're going to see it's an exponential curve, but in the beginning there's almost nothing that is happening. Sometimes there's a lot of that happens, but normally it takes, and it starts speeding up towards the end of that goal period. Right now, if you want to become financially free, I want to challenge you today. And the challenge is twofold. First of all, I want you to work on your assets. And the biggest asset that you can master is to understand and to implement the Rainmaker skill. There is no other and bigger skill and asset that you'll ever have in your life if you want to be financially free. And the second skill that I want you to have, especially if you've got a business, is to build a database, and starting today. So give me feedback on that, and let's see what's going to happen over the next about 31 days. Right, so if you see this anywhere else than on my blog, please subscribe to my blog, blog.hannesdreyer.com, for any tips or strategies relating to financial freedom or to become a wealth creator. My heart rate challenge, I've done what I was supposed to do, and I feel good about that. Feedback in terms of the last 91 days, each and every day. In the beginning of this 91 days, I said that I'm going to make a little video and talk in the camera, because it's another skill set that I need to learn, that I did not feel that at ease. But if you keep on doing stuff like this for 91 days, then you start getting the hang of it, and it's really not that difficult for me at the moment to be able to speak in a camera specifically. I'm used to speak to audiences, but there I get a lot of input from the audience, and this thing is, to me at least, 10 million times more difficult. But I think I'm getting the hang of it, and so I'm lining myself up for next year to really start exploring this. I've learned another skill. I talked about that already, in terms of a program that I'm going to use to make this really, to take this out and make it big. Right, the 2 cents, I'm happy that by now the blueprint is getting to a point where it's the finishing touches that I'm busy with, but the learning curve is phenomenal. It's an exponential, and really, the more I learn, the more I know how little I actually know. And I think that is a good thing, because I'm not going to tell you that I'm expert, at this stage. Even with the property, I'm not an expert. I can only tell you what I've done. And by the way, I'm already seeing results in terms of the 2 cents that we've already started with, and I feel good with what has happened. But it can be pure luck, and at this stage I will describe it and I will give credit that it's 100% luck. But there's something very important that I'm picking up, and I've discussed this morning with my children, with Tanya, that I saw, and that is a trend. And the moment that you start seeing the trend, you need to know how to tap into that trend in order to build massive success for yourself. So I hope that you enjoyed this series. Please give me feedback regarding that. If there's something else that you want in the meantime, before I'm going to start my next challenge next year. The challenge that I'm going to start next year will be only for certain people that's going to have access. I will share from time to time how much the 2 cent is worth and stuff like that, but I'm not going to give them like the inner circle. That will only be for very specific students. I also plan to do a basic training, but on cryptocurrencies, by sharing the knowledge that I've gained so far. But I see that there's something totally different that most people are missing. I want to do the training from a wealth creator's point of view, and for that reason I'm going to give a lot of, let's call it, bonuses to that training, simply so that people understand the bigger picture and not just a thing, because cryptocurrencies, in the way that I see it at this stage, there's enormous risk, and a lot of people will burn their fingers. So please make sure that you're not one of them, and get the basic understanding, not only in terms of cryptocurrencies, but but also in terms of what a wealth creator is and what we do, and the different classes of investments, you know, the laggers, the ziggers, the zaggers, and the blizzards. So I'm going to do this from the blizzard point of view, but I'll be able to help zaggers as well. I won't be able to help laggers and ziggers. So if you're one of those people, nothing wrong with that. That's where I started, but I won't be able to add any value to you. So thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this series. I hope that there was value for you in it. Maybe share with other people if you think that it was worth your while. And then give me feedback, and I'll see you then whenever I see you. Cheers.